Now, original lyrics from the Eagles' hit Hotel California have found themselves at the centre of a criminal trial in New York. 3 men are being charged with conspiring to sell manuscripts containing original lyrics scribbled onto a yellow pad in the 1970s.
Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely place.
Well, let's speak to Andrew Eborn, who's a UK lawyer, an expert in copyright law and intellectual property. Afternoon to you, Andrew.
A very good afternoon. And what a delicious case this is. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Very good.
Basically what's happened, Glenn Horowitz, Craig Inciardi and Edward Kosinski have been indicted for conspiracy involving handwritten notes from the Hotel California album. Now, you'll recall that the album sold 26 million copies nationwide in the US and is popular all over the world. Now, there's a dispute as to how they got their hands on this. And
do we know how they did?
Well, this is all going to come out in the trial, but basically what happened in the mid-70s, the Eagles had somebody who was working on their biography, and he was basically, apparently said that he got his hands on all sorts of documents, including the relevant notebooks with that sort of side. His name is Ed Sanders, and you'll know him, I'm sure, because you've got all their albums from the rock band The Fugs in the 1960s. And he was apparently working on the authorised Eagles biography that was never published. And he alleges that the lyric book was given to him to do what he likes with, and then he subsequently sold it to Mr. Horowitz, who then sold it to Mr. Inciardi and Mr. Kosinski. Now, obviously, there are a big dispute as to how that actually happened, but the allegation is that actually this book was stolen, and Don Henley says that it was stolen, and therefore he has arranged for this case to be brought. Now, just to put this into perspective, American Pie, the lyrics for that, sold for 1.2 million, Don McLean's lyrics in April 2015. The Beatles' All You Need Is Love went for 1.25 million in 2005. And Bob Dylan, like the Rolling Stones, was 2 million at Sotheby's in 2014. So the original handwritten lyrics are worth an absolute fortune.
Right, well, they are worth getting your hands on, it sounds like then. So you mentioned Don Henley there of the Eagles, and I believe he's expected to appear in Manhattan today as a sort of star witness.
Yes, he certainly will be a star witness. This is why the media are salivating at the prospect of hearing him give evidence as to how this book might have ended up in the hands of these 3 individuals. As I say, he does maintain it was stolen. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. But as the Eagles manager says, it's an irreplaceable piece of musical history. And whilst the evidence will come out, you have to ask, when somebody lends you a book, are you intending to give it to them? And no doubt that will come out in trial. The other point that I would make is, as a copyright lawyer, there's a difference between the copyright in a work and the physical ownership of that work. So if you buy a record, you own the physical record, or CD, or digital these days, but you don't own the underlying copyright. Now, that, of course, is worth zillions as well.
Does that mean that you could sell it on, though?
Well, so if you own the physical property, absolutely, because it's a physical item. So in the same way as if you buy a piece of art, then you own the art, but you don't own the underlying copyright in it, which means that you cannot reproduce it, you cannot make playing cards, you cannot make posters and so on and so forth.
Okay,
So intellectual property is different to physical property.
Okay, well, it is an intriguing case, isn't it? I'm sure we'll follow it closely. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Andrew Eborn there, an expert in copyright law and intellectual property.